At least you're honest.
The second part, let's jump to this part. This will be a separate video. Is the back page. Start talking a little bit about the format of the AP test. And it's second semester, so now instead of like first semester, it's almost all just let's just learn calculus, not really worry about the AP test too much. But now it's coming up at some point. So let's talk about the format of it. And the reason we throw it in here is, well, one is we already kind of know about motion, so we have time to do it. The second reason is motion is almost always the topic of one of the free response questions. And there are only 6 free response questions on the AP exam, only. And you get 90 minutes for the 6 free response questions. So that's 15 minutes each. And they're like you've seen some as we've gone. It's like one statement and then 4 or 5 pieces that go with it. Because you can ask a ton of stuff about motion, and because you can do derivatives and integrals, and you can throw in tables and charts and equations, you can do all sorts of stuff with motion. It's a real easy way for them to get some stuff in there. And so almost always it's a free response question, and I think it's one that students generally do well on. Depending on how they word the problem, they can put it in the calculator part or the no calculator part. So that's sort of why we choose to talk about it here. So here's the format of the test. It has 4 different sections. Part 1, 30, multiple choice, no calculator, 60 minutes. Part 2, 15, multiple choice with calculator, 45 minutes. So you can see they give you minutes per question is 2 minutes when you don't have a calculator, 3 minutes when you do have a calculator. It's because they're trying to give you the time to, punch things in and left bound, right bound guess and second, math 9 and all the different calculator things. They're trying to give you time to do those.
Why do they split them up? The calculator with non-calculator, Python like
So everybody gets a chance to get.
I don't understand. Why do they split them
they're
up?
both calculated. They're both not that one.
Okay.
I thought they're the same.
Oh, I see. One's no calculator, one's with calculator. And usually timing, it's tight, but it's not swamped. I feel like SAT sometimes you just don't get to the end. You just do what you can and whatever. This, you should get through all the questions. It's usually not a timing issue as much as a knowledge issue. If you get stuck and spin your wheels forever, then that's not a timing issue. That's a knowledge issue. Part 2, so you do all the multiple choice, take a break. Part 2, you get 2 free response questions with a calculator, and then 4 of them without a calculator. And obviously that's 15 minutes per question. But again, it's not really one question. It's more like 4 or 5 questions with different parts to them. And then this is kind of weird. During section B, so during the no calculator part, you can go back and work on the calculator part. You just can't use the calculator. So if you're done with all the calculator stuff and you need to go back and justify an answer, or you need to clean something up, or make sure you got units on there, or whatever, you can do that. You can go back. You just have to have your calculator on the floor. So, how will they know that? They'll. When we were looking around, and you have to have a calculator on the floor. After 30 minutes, they say something like, "Please put your calculator on the floor or on the ground." You can go. Yeah, you can go back. You just can't use your calculator.
Oh, because it's free.
So you could go back and clean up things. Obviously, you can't use your calculator.
No, that makes sense.
So, make sure you've done all the calculator things you need to do. And if you want to go back and, double check and make sure you justify it or whatever, you can do that. You could even get some points by setting things up, even if you didn't have your calculator anymore. Scoring. Each multiple choice question is worth 1.2 points. Obviously, that's an all or nothing, and there's no penalty for guessing, so don't leave anything blank, right? If you have no idea, put something down. And the multiple choice question is worth a total of 54 points because there's 45 questions times 1.2 is 54. Look at math teachers doing math. Each free response question is worth 9 points. 9 times 6, 54. So it is equally weighted, free response and multiple choice. Each part of the free response is a predetermined amount, but you don't know how much each part is worth. It doesn't really matter. You're gonna try to get all the points anyway, but we'll do enough examples where you might start to figure out if it's a really easy, straightforward question, it's probably worth 1. If it's kind of in the middle, it's worth 2, and if it's really hard, it's worth 3. And the whole section or the whole question has to add up to 9. And so you can guess reasonably accurately what they're worth, but it kind of doesn't matter. You're trying to get all the points you can. They add those together to get a composite score, and then the AP score conversion is determined by the chief reader and a committee. Like, basically, they don't tell you ahead of time where the cutoff scores are. They do that after the fact. Here's the sort of conversion score the last few years. Logan, is this your sandwich sitting here?
Yeah, I saw it.
Saw it. I don't want it. Take it back. So let's see. This is out of 108. So to get a 3, you needed to get a 43 out of 108. That's 40%. So in 2019, you just needed to make a 40, and you would pass. Let's see. 56 divided by 108. You needed a 52 to get a 4. And 69 divided by 108. 64% to get a 5. So that's why we start to give you these hard tests like the ones you had yesterday. It's like, man, that was really hard. I don't know that I got a whole lot of them right. Well, we want to get you used to that feeling. It's like, it's not a great feeling the first time you take a test and you get half of them right, and that's passing. It feels weird, but that's the way they've set it up. In fact, on this one, if you got half of them right, you almost made a 4. 2018, look at that, that's even lower. 41 out of 108. I'm not going to do this for all of them. I'm just curious now. So 38. Make a 38%, and you pass. 54 out of 108. That I can do without a calculator. And then 66 out of 108 to 61. So kind of 40, 50, 60, but we can't know ahead of time. But that gets you in the ballpark. Looks like 2017 was a little bit higher standard. I mean, only by 1 point. 44 divided by 108. That's a 41. 59 divided by 108. 55. So that is kind of a significant difference there. 5 percentage points. And then 71 divided by 108. 66. So it gives you a feel for, oh look, there's the math right there. 40, 53, 63. But you can't get stuck on that, but it doesn't matter because you don't want to get, it's not like you're going to be working the test, counting how many you think you got right and doing the math to figure out where you're at. It's like,
Unless
during
you
the
somehow
test,
get that much time.
during the test, you're just going to be working hard to get all the points you can. But this is a good reminder that, every point matters, and if you can just get up to 40%, then you got it. Or 50% aiming for 4, most of you. Here's the scoring distribution from the past several years. That's a lot of years put on there. How they split it up, or how the grades split up. It's about, look at that, it's about 2020, 2020. Again, I don't know how they decide where the cutoffs are. I don't know if they look at what this would be after they do the cutoffs, or if they somehow look at the scores and think, well, this year's test, they really needed to have a 43 to make a 3. And then we just see wherever this lands. Whatever. Your job is to do your best to get whatever points you can, and hopefully you get 50%. So think of it this way. The multiple choice is 1 out of 4. So you ought to get 25% of those just on guessing. And if you know a fourth of them, just because you know them, then you're at 50%. And the free response questions, yeah, some of them are possible, but even the impossible ones, hopefully you get 3 or 4 points out of the 9. And maybe there's 1 or 2 free response questions that you get and you understand. You're like, I got this one, and you get all 9 points, and then you're well on your way to a 4. So, don't memorize this, and you're not going to be worried about this during the test. But this is just to say, when you're taking the test, you're going to hit a string of problems. You're like, I don't know at all what's going on these last 3 problems. No big deal. Keep going. It's not I don't want to say it's not a high bar. I shouldn't phrase it like that. It's a very high bar. But the test is so hard that they score it accordingly. All right. That's any questions on how it's set up? Or what day it is this year? But
Friday today.
What day the test is this year. It's easy enough to look up and find it. And again, once we'll start going over reviewing basically right after spring break. And spend 6 weeks or so just reviewing for the AP test. In fact, I sort of phrase it like it's our second lap around. We do all of calculus slowly through the first 9 weeks, and then we go back to the beginning and do it all again, but we do it really quick. So you've seen it all twice. That's the hope. All right, let's now look